embracing all towards equity. Vakeel's vision is to strive for the inclusion of the intellectually disabled by maximizing their potential. But before we get into what that means, I think let's just step back and try and understand what the evolution of the approach towards persons with disability has been over the decades, and of course, what exactly is intellectual disability. In the global context, disability attitudes, perceptions, and assumptions are grounded in 4 broad approaches, which also have indicated the change in the dialogue that has happened on inclusion over the years. The first model is a charity model, and this model sees people with disabilities as victims of their own impairment. Disability is seen as a deficit. The situation is tragic, and they are all people who are suffering. People with disabilities are to be pitied, and they need our help, sympathy, charity in order to be looked after. The medical model. This model considers people with disabilities as persons with physical problems which need to be cured. This lands up honestly pushing people with disabilities into the passive role of patients. The aim of a medical approach is to make people with disabilities normal, which of course implies that they are in some way abnormal. In the first 2 models, persons with disabilities was approached initially as victims of impairment and later were passive patients who must be fixed in order to access rights within society. This is wrong. This led to segregation, disempowerment, dependence, and stigmatization. The third model that came along is the social model of disability, wherein social barriers such as prejudice and inaccessible infrastructure affect the ability of the person with disability to participate in society. And finally, the human rights model. This focuses on the fulfillment of human rights. For example, the right to equal opportunities and participation in society. Consequently, society has to change to ensure that all people, including people with disabilities, have equal possibilities for participation. In 2016, India ratified the Rights of Persons with Disability Act, finally discarding the medical model of disability. This has changed the way our laws perceive disability, from an incurable physical or mental impairment alone to a condition that is caused by the interaction of environmental, social, and biological factors. Within the disability space, intellectual disability seems to be the most invisible. Let's watch a film together before we proceed.
With 100 being a normal IQ and 70 being children with intellectual disability, children who have IQs of 30 and below usually have severe to profound intellectual disability.
लोग हमारे बच्चों को दया की नज़र से देखते हैं।
लोग ऐसे बच्चों को एक्सेप्ट नहीं करते हैं और उनके पास जाने के लिए झिझकते हैं।
People see my sister as a nuisance and they want us to leave from the society.
लोग मेरे बेटे को देखते हैं तो उनको समझ में नहीं आता है, सिर्फ उनको ये बात समझ में आता है कि ये पागल है, इतना ही पूछते हैं।
लोग उनके बच्चों को इनके साथ मिक्सअप नहीं करना चाहते हैं।
ये बच्चे सभी के ऊपर बोझ है।
So what we just saw in the video was that despite laws that exist, recognize and protect the rights of persons with disabilities, they still need to percolate from policy to practice. We saw what our parents, siblings and teachers experience even in a large city like Mumbai. In fact, in many parts of India, intellectual disability is still considered to be a curse, a result of divine justice or punishment for sins committed in past lives. And persons with disability continue to be neglected and marginalized. Lack of data, including on prevalence and intervention effectiveness, further impedes affirmative action. So, what does equity look like for an individual with intellectual disability? Sure, having an IQ below 70 coupled with other disabilities makes progress slow, but not impossible. Inclusive development holds the key. The term inclusive here refers to a right-based expansion of India's development paradigm, one that will create opportunities and conditions for each individual to live with dignity, to achieve his or her potential, and to thrive, irrespective of any perceived disadvantages at birth. Having access to good quality services in health and education makes change possible. I see the change Vakeel brings in the lives of our students. So Vakeel Foundation was started in 1944, that's 77 years ago, and it's longer than India's independence, by a family, Mr. and Mrs. Vakeel, who had a daughter, Deena, with Downs. At that time, there was nowhere to send her for education or therapy, and so they started in their house with one child. A journey which started with a single child and went on to encompass lakhs of others, and today is the largest and oldest not-for-profit in this space. Today we serve 19,000 students annually and 700 students across our 3 campuses in Maharashtra. The aim of every intervention we provide is inclusion, and we define this at the family, community, and society level. When I think about what's possible, I think about Huzaifa.
तो उन लोग ने देखा ये बच्चा कर सकता है, आगे बढ़ सकता है, ये आगे चल के स्केटिंग कर सकता है, आगे इंडिया से कुछ तो करके लेके आएगा।
स्कूल में जाने के पहले तो मतलब अच्छे से बात नहीं करते था, मतलब सेंटेंस पूरे नहीं बोलता था, आधा सेंटेंस बताता था और आधा इशारे में बताता था।
तो इसकी उम्र रहने की समझो 10 साल, तो खेलने का 5, 6, 7 साल के बच्चे के वैसे हिसाब से खेलता था, तो खेलते वक्त भी उसको समझ में नहीं आता था।
साइकिल भी चलाने का तो जैसे बच्चे छोटे साइकिल चलाते ना वैसा वो नहीं चलाता था, साइकिल
पकड़ के रखता था।
हुज़ैफा हमारे स्कूल में 2009 में आया। जब भी आया तभी हाइपर एक्टिव था, बहुत कुछ बिहेवियर प्रॉब्लम्स थे। फिजिकल एक्सरसाइज एंड स्पोर्ट्स देंगे तो थोड़ा हाइपर एक्टिविटी थोड़ी कम होती थी।
मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लगा, वहाँ पर बच्चे अच्छे लगे, स्पोर्ट्स बहुत अच्छा लगा, डांसिंग बहुत अच्छा लगा। वो स्कूल भी बहुत अच्छी है, सिखाते हैं बहुत अच्छा है।
फिर मैडम ने बताया आपको उसको स्केटिंग करने, फिर पूरा जितना भी जब तक आज तक के मतलब पूरा मैडम ने स्कूल में इनको ट्रेन किया।
और मेरा वो ड्रीम था तभी से कि बहुत सारे बच्चे वो स्पेशल ओलंपिक में इंटरनेशनल तक जाते हैं।
तो अभी जो भी है अच्छे से खेलो, पर भी दिमाग से खेलो। स्केटिंग जो है अपन चलाते हैं पर भी गिरना नहीं, उठ के अभी सीखना कोशिश करना।
आज हमारे पूरे खानदान में वो अकेला ऐसा है जो प्लेन में बैठा इतने दूर जाके पूरा देश का नाम, खानदान का नाम, सबका नाम उसने निकाला है।
When I think about what's possible, I
We've had Akshay with us. Akshay's been here for I think around 4 to 5 years, and he's made a lot of progress. He's really come on well and continues to improve and grow every day, and is a confident, happy boy.
Quiet fellow, sweet fellow, always keep laughing. He never says, I will not do it, I don't know to do it. He tries, and he will do, and he is doing. Right. Now he is in packing, making the package, doing the deliveries, bringing the checks.
You've got to be very clear in your communication. Give them one task at a time. So how you sort of nurture them, and you get down to a scale which, you build them up one block at a time.
हमें तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है वो काम आता है, लेकिन म्हणजे मला वाटत पण नव्हता तो काम करेल किंवा पैसे आणेल किंवा एवढं म्हणजे भरपूर मी आनंद आहे त्याच्याविषयी, म्हणजे त्याचं टेन्शन नाही आता आम्हाला.
Yeah, it's not only helped him, it's helped us. It started off with helping him, but in a way we've helped ourselves also.
When I think about what's possible, I think of Mihan, who completed his studies at Bombay International School in the 10th grade and is now interning as an assistant teacher in the same school. He dreams of being a chef and opening his own restaurant one day.
Hey guys, I'm Mihan and I'm 17 years old. I have Down syndrome and I want to tell you I don't feel any different from any other kid, except that my parents say I'm extra cute. Most parents who realize their kid has Down syndrome start panicking. They think, oh man, what does this mean? Will this affect their health? Will it affect how they think? Let me tell you this, it's nothing to feel afraid of. My parents were nervous too, but as I grew older, I could do a lot more things than they could imagine. I'm telling all the parents out there that your kid with Down syndrome will surprise you one day. You see, whether it's gymnastics or composting or anything else. To summarize, if your kid has Down syndrome, try not to worry too much as you'll be shocked how much they can do on their own in the long run. You just need more time and effort to make them learn. I can guarantee that it will pay off and you might even call them a guru like my parents call me.
Powerful words, Mihans. While this has been possible for a few, we have 26 million dreams to champion. We believe a world that includes everyone is stronger for all. We all deserve to maintain our uniqueness while being treated equally. Education is the key and can be fully realized only when children with disabilities are also included in the narrative. Change begins with each one of us. When our perceptions and our attitudes change, our actions follow. Every step towards a more diverse and inclusive world is a step towards a better world. Imagine the ripple effect if each one of us did our part. The result would be tremendous. Let's watch the second half of What Do You See?
I see her smile which brightens up our day.
ये बच्चे हिम्मत नहीं हारते हैं.
मैं देखती हूँ कि ईश्वरी को आजू बाजू के लोगों में रहना बहुत अच्छा लगता है.
I see in my sister it's someone who has an unconditional love.
मैं देखती हूँ कि मुझे मेरे तीनों बच्चों में कोई फर्क नहीं है, तीनों बच्चे मेरे एक समान हैं.
जब मैं मेरी बेटी की आंखों में देखती हूँ तो उसके आंखों में बहुत सारे एक्सप्रेशंस है, फीलिंग्स है.
हर एक बच्चे में अलग अलग एबिलिटी होती है.
अगर समाज के प्रवाह में उनको रहना है, उनके आगे बढ़ाना है, तो हमको उनको अपना ही दर्जा देना पड़ेगा. ये मैं देखता हूँ.
Together, let's shape a world that chooses love over hate and stands for a tomorrow that is all-inclusive, where not just a few of us, but all Indians are thriving with dignity,